In the quiet and often unnoticed realms of human interaction, there exists a profound and subtle exchange. Women, in their unique way, test the men around them, not through loud declarations, but through the silent whispers of expectation and observation. This is not a game, nor a manipulation, but rather a psychological and emotional exploration of strength, resilience, and depth. These tests are not always consciously driven, nor are they intended to harm, but they exist as a means of discerning the true character of those who seek to stand beside them. To understand these tests is to step into a deeper awareness of oneself. It is a journey that challenges the foundation of what we know about relationships, perception, and emotional maturity. As men, to pass these tests is not about proving strength in the physical realm, but in the mental and emotional sphere. It is a test of composure, of self-control, of understanding the subtle complexities that govern human connection. To succeed in these tests is to master one's inner self, to rise above the trivialities of ego, and to cultivate an unshakable peace in the face of life's uncertainties. The key to passing these tests lies not in force, but in wisdom, patience, and the depth of one's own character. The silent power of women's intuition. In the quiet folds of the human experience, there exists a force far greater than mere logic, far more potent than calculated reason. It is the silent power of intuition. This force, though invisible to the eye, is profoundly real. Women, often without conscious effort, possess a remarkable ability to sense the emotional currents that flow beneath the surface of every interaction. This is not some mystical or arbitrary ability, but rather a finely tuned psychological sense that discerns truth from pretense, sincerity from artifice. It is rooted in observation, in the silent reading of gestures, expressions, and unspoken words, all of which form the essence of human connection. To understand this intuitive power is to understand how the emotional and psychological landscape of relationships is shaped. Women may not always be aware of it, but this instinctive sensitivity is one of the most fundamental ways they test the men around them. It is not a test of what you say, but of who you are in the depths of silence. How do you hold yourself when no words are exchanged? How do you behave when there is no one to impress, no audience to witness your actions? This is where the true nature of a man is revealed, and it is through these moments that women instinctively measure the depth of a man's character. Men often misinterpret this subtlety, believing that grand gestures and strong words are the means to win favor or approval. Yet, the tests women administer are not born from external displays, but from the essence of a man's ability to remain present, calm, and consistent. The silent power of women's intuition doesn't seek to trap or deceive, but to reveal, to uncover the authentic soul of the man who stands before them. This power challenges the man to embody a higher sense of self. It tests his ability to remain grounded and unaffected by external noise, to see beyond the fleeting and the superficial. It calls for an awareness of self that transcends ego, that is rooted in wisdom and emotional maturity. To be tested in this way is to be asked to rise above the trivial, to prove the depth of one's character not through action alone, but through presence. It is an invitation to become a man who is not easily swayed by the world, but one who remains steadfast in his values and calm in the face of uncertainty. What is demanded in these moments of testing is not brute force, nor is it the power to manipulate or control. It is the ability to be wholly present, to trust in the wisdom of one's inner self. A man who can withstand these tests is one who is not ruled by his emotions, but who understands them, who holds them with the strength of a seasoned stoic. His response is neither excessive nor cold, but measured and intentional. He embodies the calm that comes from a deep understanding of his own nature. The silent power of women's intuition challenges men to be their truest selves, to show not what they think others want to see, but who they truly are beneath the layers of pretense. In this realm, words fall away, and only the depth of presence remains. The test, though unspoken, is an invitation to cultivate the very virtues that make a man truly admirable. To pass this test is to be a man of true strength, not because of how loudly you speak, but because of how deeply you understand the power of silence, how profoundly you embody your own inner peace. This is the foundation of all real connection, and it is through this that women instinctively assess the measure of a man, understanding the unspoken tests. The greatest tests in life are often the ones that are never voiced. There is a profound truth in the silent challenges that shape our existence, and it is within these quiet spaces that the most significant trials take place. Women, through their actions, words, and sometimes mere presence, issue these tests without even fully realizing it. These tests do not come with a clear set of rules, nor do they announce themselves with any form of direct challenge. They are nuanced, often subtle, and can easily be overlooked by those who are not attuned to their underlying significance. These unspoken tests, however, are no less real. They stem from the natural desire to understand, to gauge the depth of another person's character, and to discern whether someone is capable of navigating the complexities of human connection. The tests are not crafted from malice, but rather from a deep, almost instinctual need to see the true essence of those around them. It is a woman's way of seeing if a man can endure, if he can remain steady and unwavering in the face of the unpredictable nature of life. These tests do not ask for strength of body, but strength of mind and spirit. What is tested in these moments is the ability to remain composed, the capacity to understand the meaning behind actions rather than merely reacting to them. The silent test may manifest in a simple moment of quiet, a slight shift in behavior, or even a change in how a woman interacts with a man. This is not manipulation, but rather an exploration of how a man handles the absence of clear answers, how he responds when faced with ambiguity, uncertainty, or silence. It is a challenge that reveals the depth of his character, his ability to understand, and his emotional resilience. It is easy for men to mistake these unspoken tests for something less significant, to overlook their deeper implications. In fact, many fail to realize that these moments are the true measure of a man's worth, not in how he performs in the grand gestures, but in how he handles the seemingly small, fleeting interactions. How does he react when his patience is tested? How does he respond when faced with discomfort, with a moment of uncertainty? The answer to these questions reveals more about a man than any words or promises ever could. The essence of understanding these unspoken tests lies in cultivating the ability to observe without judgment, to listen without preconceived notions, and to respond with clarity and integrity. This is not a test of a man's ability to manipulate or control a situation, but a test of his ability to stay true to himself, to remain grounded in his principles, regardless of the external circumstances. The man who can navigate these subtle, unspoken tests is one who has developed a deep sense of self-awareness. He does not falter in the face of ambiguity because he knows his own worth, and he is anchored in a strength that is unshaken by external forces. In the world of human connection, the most powerful test is not the loudest nor the most dramatic. It is the one that comes when words are unnecessary, when gestures fall silent, and when the heart is left to speak for itself. The unspoken tests ask a simple question: can you remain true to who you are when the world is silent, when the expectations of others are unclear, and when only your own character is left to define you? The answer to this question is what truly reveals the nature of a man. The subtle nature of psychological challenges. In the realm of human interactions, there exists a powerful force that shapes our relationships more than we realize: the subtle nature of psychological challenges. These challenges are not as visible as the ones we face in the physical world, but they are no less demanding. They operate in the quiet spaces of the mind, in the unsaid words and hidden expectations that linger beneath the surface of every encounter. Women, often unknowingly, present these psychological challenges not through overt actions, but through a subtle play of behavior and emotional cues. They ask questions without words, they issue tests without actions, and they reveal the most profound truths about a man's character without ever needing to explain themselves. Psychological challenges are not about confrontation or direct conflict, but about how one navigates the delicate dance of human interaction. These challenges are born from the complexities of the mind, the intricacies of emotional depth, vulnerability, and trust. They are not meant to expose a man's weaknesses or flaws, but to test his capacity for understanding, his emotional intelligence, and his ability to remain grounded when faced with uncertainty. In the face of these subtle challenges, a man is called upon not to react, but to respond, to approach the situation with awareness, patience, and a deep sense of self-control. Women may present these challenges in various forms. It could be a moment of silence that demands interpretation, a change in tone or behavior that requires understanding. It could be a test of trust, of how well a man can read between the lines to understand what is left unspoken. These challenges are often deeply psychological, because they require the man to tap into a well of emotion. The test is not in how he performs outwardly, but in how he handles the internal pressure, how he manages the complex emotions that may arise in moments of confusion or tension. What is crucial in these moments is the man's ability to remain composed, to not rush to conclusions or make assumptions. It is in these subtle psychological challenges that a man is called upon to demonstrate emotional resilience. The true test lies not in how he controls the external environment, but in how he controls himself, how he remains steady in his actions, clear in his thoughts, and compassionate in his responses. These challenges are not about winning, but about growth, about becoming more attuned to the complexities of human emotion, more aware of the psychological forces at play in every interaction. The man who can meet these challenges with understanding and composure is one who has mastered himself. He does not act impulsively, but with wisdom. He does not seek to dominate or control, but to understand and connect. In this sense, psychological challenges are an invitation to deepen one's own sense of emotional intelligence, to develop an awareness of the silent currents that influence every relationship. The true power of a man lies not in his ability to conquer the world around him, but in his ability to understand the world within him and to navigate the psychological challenges that arise in the process of connecting with others. To pass these challenges is to prove that one has cultivated a mind that is not easily swayed by external influences, that is grounded in a deep sense of emotional integrity. The subtleties of these tests, though invisible to the untrained eye, are the true measure of a man's character. The ability to face them with clarity, patience, and emotional strength is what sets apart those who are merely reactive from those who are truly resilient. This is the nature of the psychological challenges women present, and it is in meeting them with grace that a man's true strength is revealed. The role of emotional resilience in men. Emotional resilience is the bedrock upon which the strength of a man is built. It is the quiet strength that rises from within when the storm of life threatens to overwhelm. It is not the absence of emotional turmoil, but the ability to stand firm in its presence. In the complex dance of human relationships, especially those involving women, emotional resilience is tested in ways that cannot always be anticipated. Women often present challenges that are not directly physical or intellectual, but deeply emotional. Tests that probe the limits of a man's emotional stability, his ability to withstand stress, disappointment, and even pain without losing his composure. To truly understand emotional resilience, one must first acknowledge that it is not a trait that is born overnight. It is cultivated through years of practice, through experiences of adversity, and through the willingness to face life's trials without surrendering to them. Emotional resilience is forged in the fires of hardship, and it is this resilience that allows a man to remain unshaken when the world around him falls into chaos. Women, often unknowingly, test this resilience in their interactions with men, seeing how they respond to emotional complexity, how they handle vulnerability, and how they remain steady when faced with difficult or uncertain situations. When a woman tests a man emotionally, it is not a challenge to his physical strength or outward appearance, but to his inner fortitude. It is a test of how he manages his emotions when faced with disappointment or frustration, how he handles his reactions when he is tested by unexpected circumstances. The resilient man is not one who suppresses his emotions, but one who understands them, who processes them with maturity, and who chooses his response carefully. Emotional resilience is about balance. It is about finding peace within the turmoil, about choosing calmness over rage, clarity over confusion, understanding over frustration. The true test of emotional resilience comes when a man is faced with situations that challenge his patience and endurance. In the face of conflict, when tempers flare or emotions run high, the resilient man does not act impulsively. He does not let his emotions dictate his actions. Instead, he takes a step back, assesses the situation with clarity, and responds with a level of understanding that transcends the immediate emotional reaction. He remains grounded in his principles, anchored in his sense of self, no matter the emotional storm that may rage around him. Women, often without realizing it, place men in situations that require emotional resilience. It may come in the form of a disagreement, a moment of vulnerability, or a situation where patience is tested. How a man responds in these moments speaks volumes about his inner strength. It is not about how loudly he speaks or how forcefully he reacts, but about how he remains composed, how he approaches the challenge with thoughtfulness, and how he chooses to handle his emotions. A man who possesses emotional resilience understands that the power to influence the situation lies in his ability to control his own emotions, not in manipulating the emotions of others. To cultivate this resilience is to recognize that emotional strength is not a sign of indifference or detachment, but of deep understanding and control. It is to know that emotions, like the weather, will change. There will be moments of calm, and there will be storms. The resilient man understands this cycle and does not allow himself to be swept away by the intensity of the moment. He remains steady, grounded and unwavering in his commitment to act with integrity, no matter the emotional turbulence around him. Passing the test of emotional resilience is not a matter of suppressing emotions or appearing unaffected, but of responding with wisdom and patience. It is a recognition that true strength comes not from reacting with force, but from maintaining composure and choosing one's actions with intention. The resilient man stands firm in the face of emotional trials, not because he is unaffected by them, but because he knows that his power lies in his ability to master himself, to rise above the tumult, and to respond with calm clarity. In this lies the true measure of a man's emotional strength and resilience. How men unwittingly fall into these tests. Men often find themselves unknowingly stepping into challenges that test their emotional, psychological, and moral fortitude. These tests, which women sometimes issue without conscious intention, can be subtle, elusive, and difficult to recognize. The true danger lies not in the tests themselves, but in the fact that many men are unaware they are even being tested. This ignorance is what allows men to fall into these trials without understanding the deeper implications of their action. It is not enough to simply act. One must act with awareness, with understanding of the tests that are being presented. The nature of these tests is often psychological, and they are woven into the fabric of everyday life. A woman may say something that seems innocent on the surface, but carries an underlying challenge, a quiet demand to measure how a man will respond. These tests are not announced. They come in the form of offhand remarks, subtle shifts in behavior, or expectations that seem almost unnoticeable. A man might misinterpret these moments, seeing them as nothing more than casual exchanges or fleeting moments of interaction, not realizing that they are, in fact, opportunities to demonstrate his emotional and intellectual strength. This is where many men fall short. They do not recognize the test in front of them, and as a result, they respond in ways that may not align with their best interests or values. In some cases, they may react impulsively, allowing their ego or emotions to dictate their actions. In others, they may withdraw, choosing to avoid the discomfort of the situation rather than confronting it with clarity and purpose. Both of these responses reveal a lack of awareness, an inability to recognize the deeper currents at play. The key to avoiding the trap of falling into these tests is cultivating self-awareness. A man must learn to recognize the moments when his actions are being assessed, when his emotional reactions are being observed, and when his character is being silently evaluated. These tests are not always about passing or failing, but about revealing the true nature of a man's character. The man who is aware of this dynamic is one who is prepared to respond with wisdom, patience, and emotional control, rather than react impulsively or defensively. One of the greatest mistakes a man can make in these moments is to believe that he is being tested in a way that is overt or direct. These tests rarely come in the form of clear black and white scenarios. Instead, they come in subtle, often unspoken ways. A woman may test a man by seeing how he handles stress, how he responds when faced with an emotionally charged situation, or how he behaves when there is no clear direction or instruction. These are the moments where a man must demonstrate his resilience, his understanding, and his capacity to remain calm in the face of uncertainty. Furthermore, many men fall into these tests by misunderstanding the expectations that are placed upon them. They believe that the challenge is to display power, control, or dominance, but the real test is often the opposite. The true challenge is not in demonstrating force, but in demonstrating emotional maturity, patience, and a deep sense of self-awareness. The man who is too eager to prove his strength may miss the point entirely, revealing his insecurity rather than his. Similarly, the man who retreats into passivity may appear weak or indecisive, failing to rise to the challenge with the clarity and purpose that is required. In order to avoid falling into these tests, a man must learn to approach every interaction with mindfulness and awareness. He must remain present in the moment, paying attention not only to what is being said, but to the unspoken cues, the emotions that lie beneath the surface, and the expectations that may be quietly placed upon him. This is not an easy task, but it is a necessary one. The more attuned a man becomes to these subtle tests, the more adept he will be at navigating them with grace, wisdom, and strength. To understand that you are being tested is to empower yourself. It is to rise above the surface-level interactions and engage with the deeper truths of human connection. The tests are not there to trip you up or to prove that you are lacking. They are there to reveal your character, to show you where you must grow, and to challenge you to become the best version of yourself. The man who understands this is not someone who falls into the tests, but someone who rises to meet them with awareness, presence, and emotional strength. The importance of consistency in character. Character is not defined by moments of grand success or failure, but by the quiet, consistent choices we make when no one is watching. In the realm of human connection, particularly in relationships between men and women, consistency in character is one of the most powerful tests a man will face. It is easy to appear strong, wise, or capable when circumstances are favorable and when external recognition is present. But the true test of a man's character is how he behaves when the spotlight is not shining, when the world's attention has shifted elsewhere, and when his actions no longer serve his ego or reputation. Women, often unknowingly, test a man's consistency in character by observing his actions over time, by watching how he behaves across different situations, and by seeing how he responds when there is no immediate reward or recognition. The most profound question they seek to answer is simple. Can a man be trusted to maintain his integrity, to uphold his values, and to remain true to himself, even when it is difficult or inconvenient? It is in the mundane moments of life that the essence of a man's character is revealed. How does he treat others when there is no one around to witness his behavior? How does he react when faced with adversity, when things are not going as planned or when he is under pressure? The consistent man is one who acts with integrity not because of external motivation, but because it is part of who he is. His character is not shaped by fleeting emotions or by the desire to gain approval. It is shaped by his unwavering commitment to his principles, to the values he holds dear. The importance of consistency cannot be overstated. A man who is inconsistent in his character, who is kind one moment and harsh the next, who is patient in one situation and reactive in another, becomes unreliable, difficult to trust, and emotionally unpredictable. Women intuitively are drawn to men who are stable, who can be counted on to be the same person regardless of the circumstances. It is not enough to be virtuous in a moment of calm or under favorable conditions. True virtue is shown in how a man acts in the face of challenge, in moments when he is tempted to abandon his principles for short-term gain or ease. Consistency in character is also about emotional stability. A man who is constantly swayed by his emotions, who reacts impulsively to every shift in mood or circumstance, is a man who cannot be relied upon to provide steady support or guidance. Emotional consistency is not about suppressing feelings or appearing detached, but about understanding and managing one's emotions in a way that allows for calm, rational decision-making, regardless of the external chaos. It is the ability to remain grounded and centered in one's sense of self, regardless of the turbulence that may surround him. The test, then, is not about performing acts of greatness or achieving perfection. It is about showing up, day after day, with integrity, with patience, and with a quiet, unshakable commitment to the values that define who you are. A man who consistently embodies these qualities demonstrates the kind of strength that cannot be measured in external achievements or fleeting moments of heroism. It is the kind of strength that endures, that inspires trust, and that creates deep, lasting connections with others. Women, in turn, will recognize and value this consistency. They will feel safe, secure, and at ease with a man who remains steady, who upholds his word, who acts in accordance with his values, no matter the situation. A man who is consistent in his character is a man who inspires loyalty, respect, and admiration, not because of what he does, but because of who he is, consistently at his core. To pass the test of consistency is to prove that you are not just someone who acts in the moment, but someone who lives with a deep sense of purpose, who embodies his values in every aspect of his life. It is the constant demonstration of integrity, the daily commitment to becoming the best version of yourself, no matter the circumstances. The truly strong man is not the one who acts heroically in one instance, but the one who quietly, consistently lives his life with honor and self-respect every single day. This is the foundation of true character, and it is through this consistency that a man proves his worth.